You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Today's edition of Leafs Morning Take is rated R, presented by Bet365. It's Nick Alberga and Adam Copeland, the Wednesday edition of Leafs Morning Take. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Here to get everybody through that hump day.
Pretty much,
I've just never been able to say that because my job doesn't really involve hump days, but I've always wanted to say it. So there.
How big is this for you, man? Be honest. Like you're a lifelong Leafs fan. Now you get to just chat about the Leafs for like 50 minutes. How about that?
Not gonna lie, like this feels like the next career. Like I would have no issues with being like one of the talking heads for the Leafs, into my retirement years.
I love that. And that was honestly my sell point to you. I'm like, hey, you want to help me out do this podcast? You love the Leafs. And one day you're probably going to retire from professional wrestling, no?
I mean, yeah. As I woke up this morning, I went, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I figure I got maybe a year, maybe two. And then we gotta sail off into a sunset shaped like a maple leaf.
Yeah, man. Again, moving forward, we'd love to have you do more and more stuff with us, and a pleasure working with you today. And thank you so much for doing this. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure their question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. We're going to whore Adam out today. If you want to ask him a question about anything, please do so. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and third in the world. First question I want to ask you today. What possessed you to wear a mic for a Game 7 involving the Toronto Maple Leafs, please?
Yeah, in hindsight, I told them beforehand, I was like, hey, if this doesn't go well, I don't know how entertaining this whole thing is going to be. There's just going to be a lot of sadness. And there was. And luckily, my buddy Mike Pongratz, who's actually like the guy who does pretty much every commercial on Sportsnet, who introduces this presentation of Hockey Night in Canada. So he was with me, thank God, because he kept it moving when I was just not in a good place.
I didn't know how I felt for you because I'm like, that's sick. Game 7, you're front row. But then I'm like, this guy's wearing a mic and who knows what you were saying in that moment.
I was very careful, but just imagine if they'd won.
We say that every year, man.
That's where I was focusing because I'm all about the power of positivity. But man, that night was tough.
Because you were telling me that they want, like the whole series, they wanted you to wear a mic at bits and pieces, but then it landed on Game 7 that it came to fruition, no?
Yeah, well, they wanted me to go down to one of the Florida games. And this is TNT and Warner Brothers and AEW and all the different, partnerships there. And I was like, I don't know if it's a good idea to go to Florida. Like because I'm going to be fully leafed out and who knows what happens. And then it's mic'd up and I just, let's avoid all of that.
Yeah, that's true. So, and I was at those games for what was it, Game 3 and 4, and there was a fight. We actually broke down the fight on the show.
Yeah. I saw that.
The guy looked like he was from the Jersey Shore. Maybe he was, but he looked ready to rumble, that Panthers fan. I will say that. He took off his jersey and everything.
Yeah. Didn't want to depend on that fighting strap.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, hey, man, great to have you today. There's a lot moving parts in Leafs Nation and so much to talk about from Marner to Tavares. Mm-hmm. But why don't we just start with sort of your opinion on Game 7, how everything went sort of this season? Because, again, I did reach out to you maybe a couple days after the season ended, and you're like, please, you gave me one of those, like, please respect my privacy. I was like, I understand.
Too soon, man. I need to collect myself here. Yeah, I mean, it was. Hey, I will always be one of those guys that will say it was a hell of a season. Like they made definitive strides. There's no doubt about it. They're a better team. It just so happens that once they had the foot on the jugular, they couldn't make the final step. And I don't know if that's mental. I don't know. I don't know. Florida found their game. They figured out, what Toronto was doing, and Maurice sat down and came up with a game plan that worked. Or they just found their Panther stride and the continuing elbows here and there. And, it's kind of lost, but because it happened in game one. But like, if Stolarz is in net, and this isn't a knock on Wool, but maybe it's different. And maybe that's just me being a Leafs fan grasping for straws of something and something redeeming. But I also look at it and go, man, we're so close to a Toronto Maple Leafs Edmonton Oilers possible final.
Man, I don't know how you feel, but I think this is Edmonton's year. Like, I know we're talking a lot about the Florida Panthers and they're just dismantling Carolina, but there's just something about Connor McDavid. They're getting the goaltending now. Ekholm's not even there. Do you have that feel as well, or?
Yeah, I'm starting to like. It was after that shared look that those two had.
Yeah.
And McDavid had on the bench, just like for that nanosecond, I was like, ooh, okay. All right. And from that point forward, I think they've outscored them like 11-1 or something like that, or maybe it's 14-1 now, or I don't know. But it feels like they don't want to go back and repeat the same thing. And I feel like now they know. Now then they know what they're going to come up against. And I could still see it going 7 games. It could still go either way, but it feels like McDavid and Draisaitl are going to finally collect what they should. Let's face it. Like, because if Connor McDavid retired without winning the cup, that feels like a crime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good way to put it. And like, I think you even look at the stat leaderboard. I woke up today and like 4 of the top 5 guys are Edmonton Oilers, and it's been a simple ingredient. But I think the big thing for me is defensively, they've really zoned in, and like that moment in the first round, like Byfield couldn't clear the puck, and next thing you know, they blow that game. And Evan Bouchard's been a big story, but you just start to get that feel. And I've been so. I don't know where I am emotionally the last couple of days, just because I know the Leafs seem to be so close to beating Florida, and now the Panthers are dismantling Carolina. Does it enrage you even more after watching what's transpiring here in the conference final?
Absolutely, because you realize, like, no, Toronto could have beaten the Canes. Like, I said that to Mike once again, and I don't want to be that guy that's like tooting my own horn, but I said, listen, if they can make it past the Panthers, they can take it. The Panthers is their Stanley Cup to me. Not that the Oil would be easy or anything like that, but I feel like if history's any indication, they got the Oilers' number, and they also, pretty much have the Canes number too. So it felt like there was a definite road to make it there. And then to be up like they were in game 3, for it to slip away, that's when all the momentum changed.
It was so disappointing. And we felt that way so many times, even in recent memory. It's like you getting ready for a big match and just not showing up in that match, and there's botches left and right. And it's just like tough. Like that's the feel, if you want to compare it to wrestling, where it's like the biggest moment of the year and they couldn't show, right?
It does happen. Don't get me wrong. That does happen. And again, I try to focus on the fact that they took the defending Stanley Cup champions to a game 7, and there was 2 blowouts, but blowouts happen. I mean, they do. It's just when they happened.
True.
That's what really sticks in the craw, right? And again, we're talking like, imagine how disappointed they are.
Yeah.
That's where I always try to navigate from, is from the mentality of the player himself. And they don't want to lose that way in game 7. Like that's not on the agenda. They're trying. And it just so happens that Florida, they were all over them. And they're a team that once that chum is in the water, they attack nonstop. Like watching them in that last game, it was just like a blanket. It was just like a Panther blanket thrown on the ice, and they just controlled and dictated the play. And they got enough from Bob to get them through it. But I feel like, they were close. And you could say, run it back. I know some people are saying, run it back, just sign Marno, let's go, because we're close. Add a couple other pieces. I don't know. I think he's probably gone, if I'm looking at it. And I also don't blame him. I know the homers are going to be like, well, how dare he? But it's all within his rights. Yeah. It's all negotiated. I mean, I would do the same thing. Why wouldn't you? You can say, stay loyal to the crest of da 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 da. I stay loyal to my family first, right? And hockey players need to stay loyal to their family first, because their family's going to be there long after the career is done. And also, while you're doing this at the top of your game, you get a 100-point season and people just crap all over you. Like, I get it. It's great, because if you win, you're immortalized forever. You're in Legends Row now. You can be like Wendell and Dougie, and you win the cup. You're a made man. I get it. But I also see the other side of it for sure.
It's a perfect transition too, because Brad Treliving is going to address the media on Thursday. It's taken a while. Of course, he was back in Calgary over the weekend and wasn't there at the Pelly press conference. But I was wondering in my head, like, what I want to hear, exactly what I want to hear from Brad Treliving in the end of season presser. I don't know about you, but I don't think we're going to get it. I think they're going to be very, very stock answers, but I want some clarity on change. Like, are they going to run it back? What's the ideology? Is Marner still in play to re-sign? Ditto for Tavares, but I just don't think we're going to get much of that. Do you?
I don't. I did like Keith Pelly's press conference, though. I really like that message. Like, that sets the tone to me. This is not acceptable. We need more. We want more. And it's a highly successful franchise. They had a highly successful season. They won the division. They did a lot of great things. They made some great strides with Berube, this defensive core. Their goaltending tandem, I think, is the best in the league. They made some significant strides, but it's not good enough. The Maple Leafs and the Canadians are like the Red Sox and the Yankees. They're like the Cowboys and the Steelers. Like, they want more for this franchise. And I appreciate that was stated so firmly from the president, or the CEO. And with Shanahan, with Brendan leaving, there's some changes already. And I think both parties seem to understand that it was just time.
You're right. And obviously, you're somebody who's seen the other side of it. Like, what's it been like dealing with the team? I asked Rosie this quite a bit. Like, what was it like to be a member of the Leafs? But you've been all around this thing. You're part of the booster. Like, I mean, you've been all around sort of the key moments of this team. You submitted the championship belt. Like, how have they treated you over the years?
I mean, phenomenal. Just the fact that they give me a buzz and say, "Hey, would you mind doing like a pump up video for the audience?" I'm like,
that was awesome, man.
Yeah, like, of course, count me in.
Yeah.
And we got to donate funds to Hockey House, and so it was the whole experience with the Leafs has been amazing, and I think also too, I use the term celebrity loosely, but I'm a pseudo celebrity that actually watches. Like, Will Arnett watches. You can tell. Like, this isn't just some kind of passing fancy. Like, I sit down and watch all 82 games, and I love it. They're some of my first childhood memories are watching the Leafs and Bruce's team in '78. Bruce Boudreau is going to be on later. I love the franchise. I love the history. I love the way it makes me feel. It brings me back to sitting with my grandparents and my uncles in the basement on Zina Street in Orangeville. And yeah, man, it's been such a great experience. They've treated me like gold, and I'm there for anything they ever want. So it's just a quick flight up, and I get to go home again. So it's been a really, really fun time, and just to have even just a distant affiliation is really nice. And again, the belt and being involved in all of that, it's just super cool. I look at a lot of moments in my life, like teaming with Hulk Hogan, gifting the Leafs a championship belt. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's pretty damn sick. And again, if you haven't had a chance to check out our Man Cave edition of Adam's Man Cave there in Carolina, Stephen Brunt hung out with you for like a day and did an interview and showed your Man Cave, right?
Yeah. It's I think I may knock out a few walls and make it a little bigger.
That's sick. What else you want to add?
Been given clearance from the 3 ladies in my life, so I think I'm allowed to do it now, which is nice because I'm running out. I'm running out of space. Is what's happening.
I can't wait to see, like, it's going to be a massive house in like 10 years. It's going to be a house shrine.
House is going to be blue and white.
That'd be sick. Just some breaking news here, and it's not really Leafs affiliated, but Zach Hyman likely done for the playoffs, undergoing surgery for his injury sustained in Game 4. That's a tough loss, man. But that is unfortunately part of the playoffs. I don't know what you thought of that slash by Bouchard on Hintz yesterday. That's playoff hockey, man.
It is. It is. Like it's yeah. I mean, it's playoff hockey, right? And I think the Oilers are preparing for the Panthers. Because let's face it, that's coming. I mean, if it's not Ekblad, we don't even talk about the elbow on Wool, by the way, like that.
No,
brushed by because there was no ramifications.
True.
But it's the way they play, and I know there's argument that the Leafs need some more of that because you got Domi and Pacioretty, who may retire, which I really hope he doesn't, man. Yeah. And then I look at Hyman's injury, and I immediately thought maybe a torn triceps. It just the way the arm went, and having torn my triceps myself, that's kind of what it looked like to me. The way it hit here, and I could just see that popping off, or something with the shoulder, maybe a labrum or a rotator.
Yeah, that guy's a gamer too. As soon as he didn't come back, I'm like, he's in trouble. And you're a natural at this. Shatiup as well. Bruce Boudreau's coming up in about 15 minutes from now. I think he's going to be a kid in a candy shop. I can't wait for this, man. As long as he doesn't bring up his favorite wrestler.
Well, I have a feeling there might be some wrestling talk happening in this next.
Yeah. We don't like his favorite wrestler as much. I'll just say that. So Bruce Boudreau's coming up in about 15 here at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and don't forget to visit the LeafsNation.com. So anything else you want to add before we get to Morgan Rielly, David Kampf being on Daily Faceoff's trade targets list about what Pelly said, Shanahan's departure? What was it like to deal with Shanahan? Did you deal directly at all?
Yeah, dude's awesome. Just very old school, I guess, in terms of like, they were going to release a WWE Maple Leaf shirt after I had left WWE, and he called me to check if I was cool with it, which, hey, of course I'm cool with it. I don't care, but ask Cody Rhodes to name 3 Leafs. But yeah, sure, like, of course. But the fact that he got my number and cold called me, and I'm answering, going, "Wait, Brendan Shanahan?" Like, oh yeah, I don't mind, of course. So that went a long way with me. Didn't need to do it at all, but just very cool, a very, very nice man, and just everybody I've met in the Leafs organizations, they're top notch, man. They're a top notch organization.
That's a classy gesture, and all I'll say on that front, I know these guys take the heat in the spotlight, and somebody's got to take blame. There's always a scapegoat, but like, don't forget there's a human behind there, and they do some great things behind the scenes. They say some great stuff. They do some stuff that you don't even know half the time. So I wanted to add that to the conversation too, right?
Yeah. Brendan Shanahan, man, he's class act.
All right, let's talk about trading people, Cope. This is the tough part of the job because you're boys with all these guys.
Yeah, I know.
So Morgan Rielly and David Kampf land on Daily Faceoff's trade targets list. Frank Saravalli putting out his extended list yesterday. Let's start with Morgan Rielly, man. 5 years left at $7.5 million. Got a full no move there involved, but it was a really difficult year for Morgan Rielly, and the Leafs have to find a way for a bit of a culture change. Where do you stand on the whole Rielly conversation?
I mean, for me, I'm a Rielly guy. I always have been. To me, he's a lot of the heart and soul. Longest tenured Leaf. I mean, you trade him, those are some big changes, like locker room changes. Culture changes, but I don't know if that's a culture you want to change. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think he's important. I really do. I feel like in the locker room, he's a glue. And if you get rid of too much glue, things can fall apart, right? I don't know. I'm on the side of, I think you get the second year of this D core together, and they've now had a full year, or almost, they got half a year together, but him and Carlo next year, they're going to gel better. They're going to be a better unit. And because they don't have too many defensemen, OEL does sometimes, that come up, that join the rush. That's an important aspect to have. I don't know. I feel like you lose that too unless you trade for that. But I don't know. I'm a fan of keeping Rielly personally. I feel like you get Nyes locked in. I feel like Tavares will take a team-friendly contract to stay here, because I think for him, when we talk about family, it's important for him and his family to be here. So I think that's an instance where, you know, he stays, and if you got a guy that's still contributing 38 goals, man, like,
yeah, that's value. And I'm almost there with you on Rielly. I think it's a tough deal to begin with to make because of how much term he's got, how much money he's got.
sure.
And I'm not a big fan of trading guys when their value's very low. Like, he's coming off probably his tough, hardest season, worst season, whatever you want to call it, in recent memory at the very least. And I agree with you. I think that's a really good point. Leading back to the deadline, they pick up Brandon Carlo, you bring him in, and I thought he actually made Rielly a better player. I know they ran out of gas there against the Florida Panthers, but I think we saw more of the better than the worse from Morgan Rielly. And I just think, getting back to the point, I don't think it's the right time to execute a move like that. If you're seeking change, there's other routes on the roster I would go. But I just wonder about the fit long-term with Craig Berube and Morgan Rielly. That's all.
Yeah. It seems like Berube likes him, though, and understands what he does bring to the table. And I really do feel like now that they have a bunch of games under their belt together, him and Carlo will be a really good defensive pair, because it allows Rielly to join the rush more. I feel like that's the kind of defenseman he is. He's the defenseman that will join the rush, but he didn't get to a lot because the rest of the defensive core had breakdowns. Now this defense, like Simon Benoit and what he flourished into this season, and then in the playoffs, man, like, I know BX has said the best six man going, but like, dude was awesome these playoffs and great this entire season. Like, I feel really good about that defense. So it feels like that's an area that was really good. That and goaltending. I mean, every area was good, don't get me wrong, but then in the playoffs, it broke down a little bit. But I also think that Florida deserves a lot of credit for that. People are just dumping on the Leafs and saying they got blown out, they got this, they got that. Yeah, by the defending Stanley Cup champions, who are the closest thing to the New York Islanders of the early 80s I've seen since. That's what this team is.
Yeah.
To me, like, they've been to 3 cups in a row. That hasn't, or I shouldn't speak too soon, but they're about three Stanley Cup finals in a row. That doesn't happen in this age of very little disparity, right? To get to the finals 3 times in a row is saying something. And to possibly win back-to-backs, again, I look at them and I go, okay, they're built like the 80s Islanders.
Yeah, like a brick shithouse, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I think what pissed people off is just the way the Leafs lose, and they always seem to lose that way. In Game 6, they suck you back in, and then in Game 7, like, the first period is okay. The last 8 minutes of the first were good. They were decent. And then everything just came unglued in the second period. And I think it's just more so the way they lost. But I think you make a really good point on the composition of the roster. Firstly, if you look ahead to July 1 and free agency in the offseason, I think they've solidified their crease. They solidified their back end. Now it's time to reimagine, I think, what they have up front. And naturally, that gets us into a conversation about Mitch Marner, John Tavares. I tend to agree with you. I think the writing's on the wall. I sort of chuckled at Tavares' comments after the season and the end of season podium presser, whatever you want to call it, where he's like, yeah, I just talked to Treliving and Berube today. It's like, yeah, we all know this is going down. I think Marner of the two is more likely to test free agency and move on. But I want to see them add depth, like bottom 6 depth, I think, is a big story this offseason.
I think so too, and back to the Rielly point, if you lose Marner and Rielly, I mean, that's a lot of the nucleus of this team, right? And that feels like it might be a little too much. And if Marner's going to walk, then yeah, you just have to try and build how do you replace a 100-point guy unless it's another 100-point guy? But how many 100-point guys are going to be available? right?
Good point.
So
Yeah.
it feels like you need to add some depth. You need to get like a Brock Nelson. You need to like bring in some guys that are feasible. I read this, like, I like this lineup, and I'll give credit to the dude, Banksy at Banks_Leaf. This is his proposed roster. Nyes, Matthews, Domi, McBain, Bennett, Nylander,
Ooh, okay.
Marchment, Tavares, Cowan, Lorentz, Lawton, Tanev. And then the final is all dogs team.
I like that, man. Like, people are reimagining this roster and using Puckpedia to put these rosters together. And the name that stood out for me was a guy who was a former Leaf farmhand, and that's Marchment. It sounds like Dallas, once their season's done, whether it's now or after the Cup final, is going to look to move this guy. But I think that's probably the direction I would look the most from the Leafs perspective outside of free agency. There's not really that many big names out there outside of, say Mitch Marner, and we'll see if he resigns, unlikely, but more so the route of using like your cap space as a weapon. I think nobody's looking at that aspect, as maybe they take on a cap dump or two here.
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels like even just with those suggestions, you're bringing in 3 players that kind of shore up the strength of all the lines.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not as top heavy. It's actually spread throughout, which is kind of been an issue. And then when you get to the playoffs and sometimes that top line doesn't perform, well, now what? Right. But that I read that, I was like, damn, that's a hell of a team. Like, that is a playoff team. That is a gnarly, gritty, sink their teeth in and don't let go kind of team.
Yeah.
Because you see Marchment, he's kind of the only one playing that way on the Stars right now. Maybe to his detriment a little too, because I'm sure the refs are probably fed up of how much he's marking. But you need some of that, right? And Bennett has proven that. To me, he's the poster boy for showing what playoff hockey's all about. Marchand too, like, and then there's the aspect of those two. Like, is there actually a possibility they could end up on the Leafs?
Yeah, Marchand, I think he's trolling everybody. Like, I love last week, or suddenly the Leafs are his favorite team growing up. It's like he loves his Dairy Queen ice cream. I even Bennett, all you've been hearing for the last 2 months is that he's going to re-sign with Florida. But we talked about David Clarkson yesterday and Sam Bennett. That scares the hell out of me, dude. I won't lie.
Yeah. But here's the thing too, like, I hear about tax breaks and all this, but then you got to factor in, okay, if you have a U.S. contract, you're living in Canada. That's a good deal. So that counters that.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, like, I'm sure Bennett too, like, playing for the Leafs is probably something he dreamed about at some point. I think that's the thing that the Leafs have, is that a lot of guys want to put that crest on, because it does mean something.
Sure. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Bruce Boudreau is coming up. We do have our first super chat in support of Sick Kids. Willie on Crack. Sweet handle. Welcome to YouTube, Cope. Welcome to YouTube.
Right.
Adam, do you think Matthews can become a killer in the playoffs like Leon Draisaitl is for Edmonton, or is what we've been getting his ceiling? What say you, Cope?
I think he can. I truly think he has a back injury. And having a bit of a bad back myself, anybody who has a bad back out there knows what a bad back feels like, how it affects every aspect of your life, let alone, getting cross-checked in the kidneys when somebody's hurt. Maybe it's a low back thing, and then he has to go out for a bunch of games. I feel like he said, give him the summer, let everything heal. And more than just like 16 games, like, actually take the time to heal. But it begs the question, like, throughout an entire season, can he stay healthy? As he gets older, as I sit here at 51. But, I think yes, he can. Now, at the beginning of the season, I was saying, this is going to be a different team. They're not going to be as fun and as exciting, but I think they'll be more effective. And I feel like that's the case. They really did. I think Berube implemented a new system, and it worked. It really did. Like, they won the division. It clearly worked. And it seemed like everybody bought in too. So I feel like Matthews, especially if Marner goes, maybe he won't be set up as much, but maybe you do get a really grinding kind of, dig it out from the corners and get it to him kind of thing, But I do think the capabilities there. I don't know how much of a mean streak he has, and that's not a knock. It's absolutely not a knock. But like your most successful guy like Chris Prong or even like a Larry Robinson, those dudes had mean streaks. And I know we're talking D, but that would be the only question I have is, does he have that mean streak that I feel like you need when you got the opponent on the ropes to just like push the pedal down? Like in game 3, it was time. You had him,
Well, the example for me is always Nathan McKinnon. Like that guy's got a permanent snarl on his face. Like, fuck you, I'm winning this hockey game. And I just don't get that feel, that killer instinct. We use that buzz phrase so much in this market, but it just, especially when you look at Matthews' game, you just need to have that, you know what, I'm better than all of you. I scored 69 goals and I'm closing this house tonight. We're winning this hockey game. And unfortunately, watching these playoffs specifically, didn't get that feel. And I think, like, I'm curious to get sort of your opinion, obviously with your background and all that, but like he doesn't want to share anything about this injury. Like, again, I'm always very careful to speculate on what's cooking, but like they won't give us anything on what's going on here.
And I get it, and they have no responsibility to. They don't have to, because this is a legitimate sporting, contest. With what we do, with what I do, it's entertainment, right? So you can talk about your injuries. It's fine. If anything, it adds to your story. You talk about injuries in hockey, and now dudes are going to target it. Like, I forget who it was that cross-checked him in the kidneys and the low back there that put him back out. Clearly, that dude got wind. So I get not saying that. And I always want to give the benefit of the doubt, too. I feel like he was playing really, really not 100%. I really, really do. Like there's no way around it. Whether it was wrist, whether it was low back, I don't know. But he wasn't functioning at 100, and he still got almost 30 goals, being out essentially kind of half the season almost. I feel like if you put some meanness around him, more meanness, because I feel like Tavares is a playoff guy. He plays hard. I don't think he's mean. Marner's not mean. I think Willie can get there, but even still, not like mean per se, And I know that's like a broad term, but like, look at the Panthers; they're mean. Look at the Oilers and how they're playing; they're getting mean, and you got to do that in the playoffs. You got to have that bite and that snarl. So maybe you surround him with that, and maybe that's the way to go, because right now he's been surrounded by kind of like-minded players.
A common question when I watch Maple Leafs hockey: do you hate to lose? And I don't know if I get to that level where they do hate to lose. And there's a big difference from loving to win, man. It just, you watch some of these teams in Colorado and McKinnon, like, rest assured the next day, like, the guy was at the World Championships. He's like, let's fix what I did incorrectly. And obviously it didn't work out for Team Canada at the World Championships, but just that dog mentality. And I don't even know if you can teach it, but I think you have to bring in more of that type of mentality. Like Tanev, OEL, I thought was an underrated, under the radar type pickup. Like guys like that to help insulate, because you're so right.
Not for nothing, all of the Panthers that they picked up.
True.
There's a reason, right? Yeah. All the way to
Lorentz. Yeah.
And Stolar's pie-facing Greg and beating the crap out of him. Like, dude's got the dog in him, and all the Florida guys do. So I feel like you add some of that, more of that, but in the forward, that's why it was so like, whoa, somebody said it was nice this year. He said, we need more. We need to be tougher. And we didn't play hard enough, or whatever it is that he exactly said, but it was, you don't hear that too often coming out of the Leafs dressing room. And he said it as the young guy, and then he goes and gets a hat trick the next game. That to me is a guy, like, get him tied down. Yes.
Accountability, man. Like accountability. You're so right.
And he's doing that at 23.
Yeah.
By the way, there's the leader for the next decade.
Yeah.
He is the leader of this team. When he's not in the lineup, when Tanev is not in the lineup, those to me are the two biggest holes that when they were gone, you really, really saw it and felt it.
I have to give Rosie credit because we had a chance to interview Nyes before he played his first game as a Leaf like a couple years back. And Rosie on the spot, he's like, that guy's a future captain. And look at what that kid has evolved into at like 22, as you just talked. Like, it's actually crazy. Just the accountability, the maturity.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
You know, the way he's evolved his body too. That's a big story as well.
He's got a neck like a Rottweiler. Like, he's
man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so true, man. I can't say enough great things about him. And
and I also appreciate Rosie's crush on him.
He loves him, man. Did you hear this story?
He goes, I'm a pretty straight guy.
Yeah. I don't know if he told you that night in the alumni box, but I think prior to meeting you, he ran into Nyes' mom in the elevator, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she's like, thank you so much for what you say about my son. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, he's the future captain.
Speaking of captains, our main man, Bruce Boudreau, we're about to bring him in. The following interview is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers. Get custom ring building delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece program and an unbeatable pricing policy. Charm Diamond Centers is proudly Canadian owned and operated since 1972 with more than 85 locations across the country through Charm and their sister brands. For more information, go to charmdiamondcenters.com as we bring in the one and only Bruce Boudreau. Gabby, thank you so much for doing this. First question, who is your favorite wrestler of all time?
Well, he's right now. He's sitting beside you.
Good answer, Gabby.
What do you think I'm gonna say? Or he's at home. I mean, on the screen, he's beside you. But it's good to see you, Adam. And Nick, it's great to see you as well. So, sorry I didn't get on right on time, only because I'm in Banff, Alberga, right here. So, I mean, there's things that I was doing that I couldn't make.
I would have said no.
Right
I
on the right time.
Looking at the mountains.
Hey, you know, I was golfing yesterday in the mountains, and boy, sometimes if you aren't around mountains, they are so beautiful.
Yeah,
you know, like I mean, I couldn't believe how gorgeous it was, and I'm not one of these guys that are like Mr. Scenery type thing. I'm like Chevy Chase in Vacation. You see the Grand Canyon for 5 seconds and it's I'm out of here. But this was pretty cool.
Well, this is pretty cool to get us three together in a conversation. You've had some time, Gabby, to decompress after whatever the hell that was for the Leafs in Game 7. How are you feeling about your favorite team right now?
Well, I mean, it's funny because everybody thought, I think, that if they could have gotten by Florida, that they're going to be in the Stanley Cup final, and Florida's making it look like, damn, but I mean, like I had so many texts, like I'm sure you guys had. I was okay. Now let's blow this thing up. Let's get it. I mean, we're all Leaf fans here. We want them to win. And here's what I think is that they got great players, but maybe they just need to have a different combination of players. Like, I mean, if Mitch Marner goes and say you got Sam Bennett, it's a different style of player. He's not going to score the goals, but maybe in these crunch times, these are things that would be better suited. Like, I mean, I've seen a lot of teams in my day that have got great players. Buffalo's one. Like, I mean, they've always seem to have good players, and they do really good when they go somewhere else. But I mean, together as a combination of a team, it just doesn't click as well as you would like it to in these times when you need it to click. Like in the playoffs, the regular season is one thing, but as we know, the playoffs are a totally different thing, totally different game.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and with Marner being possibly walking away, like you look at, well, would you have tried to trade him? But he's got a no trade clause. But imagine like a Marner for a Tage Thompson or something.
Yeah, you know what? And once you ask him hey, would you let us move you? Would you lift your no trade? Yeah. I mean, that's a big whammy there to the player, like you pretty well know that they're willing to move on from you. So it's it means something. That's why I'm pretty sure, even if he's from Toronto and his wife's from Toronto, that he's going to be looking for greener pastures. And if money's the object, and it shouldn't be because he's made so much and he's going to make a lot more, is that he's going to go pick a new team. And listen, you went from the WWE to the AEW. It's going somewhere else is not a terrible thing. It's a new adventure. And that's how you look at it, rather than, oh man, I wish I was back home again. Then I think he's going to be fine. I've moved on from team to team. And every time we move, my wife says, okay, let's start a new adventure. It's a new beginning again. And I think that's how he's going to be. And he's going to go somewhere and he's going to get 14 million and for 7 years, or if they trade before July 1st, to get an asset. If Toronto gets an asset, it'll be, 8 years at that kind of money. I mean, I think he's but it's going to open it up for Toronto to get somebody else of a different kind of player, but a really good player at the same time.
I've always dreamt of Tom Wilson on the Leafs.
Oh, Jesus, would that be good? I mean, I do the
eyes.
Well, you talk about eyes, you know about the eye look. I mean, I get it, but Tom Wilson, I do the Caps games, the pre and post game for most of the season, and this guy on the Leafs would be unbelievable. It'd be unbelievable.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
And back to Marner, what I think it is, if I'm looking at it objectively as an outsider, which I am, I try to put myself in the position, right? I think more than anything, if he goes, it's for a little more peace. I truly do. You got a brand new kid. Do you really want all of that happening while you're in? And I think we talk about, Morgan having a tough year, had a baby this year. People forget those things. Real life is still happening for these guys. They're human beings with big changes and sleepless nights, and you get paid, but you're still a human being. You still have to function in the world and all of the things that happen to everybody else. Just because you make money doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So I could see, if he goes, that being the reason. Like, okay, now when you read threatening things or burning jerseys, like, what kind of an asshat do you have to be that you burn a jersey? Like, dude, you think you make that much of a difference that you burning a jersey means something? No, it just means you're an asshole and an idiot.
People just get. Yeah,
but I digress.
Go ahead, Gabby. Yeah.
No, I was going to say I totally agree with you. One of the things is, when you're talking about that, and he's got a new baby, so he doesn't have to worry about school yet. But I mean, I know when I got fired my first time in Washington, I said, George, don't put it out for an hour or so. Let me at least tell my kids before everybody else knows. So, I mean, so they can adjust with it when they're going to school today. And that's a big thing. Like you said, people don't realize how big thing it is. Or if your wife is walking in the supermarket that day, and people giving you crap, like, you don't need that. And sometimes, and in Toronto, you're under the biggest microscope in all of hockey. I don't know, can't say sports, but all of hockey for sure, that you're under the microscope in Toronto, and everybody knows who you are all the time.
Yeah,
Gabby.
Sure.
No worries. I was just going to ask you what your interpretation is of, like, the new role for Craig Berube. Have you had sort of a role like that? Like, they're saying he's going to have an extended role now with Treliving. Like, what do you think that would entail?
Oh man, you can, if this, that is the greatest thing for a coach ever, to have a say in your personnel. Are you kidding me? It gets you a little excited, like, as a coach, because nobody gives the coach that kind of thing. And when you have a relationship that's good with the general manager or the boss, that is the greatest thrill. Like, I mean, I remember, like, in Minnesota, I went through 3 GMs. So I don't know GM number 2 and number 3, and they didn't hire me. So, it's always, they've got their own guys that they're looking at and everything else. But so it's always a tough relationship. So but in this situation, if you're Craig Berube, you know that is the golden ticket, if you ask me, is to have not only an added role, but to have a little bit of say in the personnel that you think you're going to need to win the game. At the same time, you got to have the confidence, right? I mean, hey, if I'm going to do this, I better be right as well. But that you want that responsibility.
Well, I feel like he earned that this year too.
Mm-hmm.
The team did change, and they did become more of a playoff team, and they were harder to play against, and they did take the division. It was a different team. I feel like he earned it, but also that to me, and again, as more of an outsider, that feels like it should be the case in every case, to give the
You would
coach
think.
more of a say in the personnel that he has to coach.
Yeah, you're
You know
right.
what?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just going to piggyback off that. Those are two really good points. So, Gabby, like if you're Craig Berube, what's on your wish list? Like, is it a Sam Bennett? Is it a certain type of player? Like, what would you tell Brad Treliving?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the one thing I do know is that coaches know that your team better than anybody else. They know they're there with them every day, and he knows. Like, I mean, whether it's um, whomever, I'll use Morgan Rielly. Maybe he says, you know what, we could move on from him. He's not really my cup of tea type thing, and then but he would know, and he would be able to give those words to Brad. Now, again, I've been in situations where GMs will listen to me, but they don't necessarily do what I'm asking. They'll come up and say, "Hey, what do you need?" And I'd say, I think I need a second line center if we want to be successful. And he'll either uh, agree and then go out and try to get him, or they say, yeah, I think he's wrong. I signed that guy. That's the second line center. I really like him. I don't want to move on from him. So I'm going to try something else. But Chuck Fletcher always told me, he says, I have to be in agreement with you, because if I go out and trade for a player and you don't like him, you're not going to play him, and we both look bad. So, I mean, I think that's what the great thing about Berube and Treliving is, being together and working together rather than having two separate entities working apart to try to get to the same result, if that makes any sense at all.
It also seems like two guys with similar mindsets, just
Yeah.
in what they brought in this season with Tanev and OEL and Morantz and a lot of guys they brought in were really key. So if you had your druthers, Bruce, let's say you're GM or your coach of the Leafs, what realistic pieces do you see that they could add if Marner does walk out the door?
Well, I mean, I think Bennett is, to me, the tops of the list. That kind of player. I mean, look at they can move Nylander up with Matthews and really not hurt anything. They could even put Bennett, who's a center. They could sign Tavares and make him the third line center and Bennett the second, or vice versa. I think it would be really good. I think they've got enough offense. I think Matthew Nyes is going to get 40 goals next year. I think he's a superstar in the making. I mean, they got young players. The guy from London, I forget his name right now. It just
Easton
slipped my
Cowan.
mind. Easton Cowan, but he's an up and coming star. But what I think the Leafs need is, they were the lowest scoring team offensively from the blue line last year. And I think they need another right-handed defenseman that is that can score, that can put up points. Because obviously, one of the reasons I think Morgan Rielly didn't have a good year is because he wasn't used on the power play, which was one of his places where he got all his points. But I think the Leafs only scored like 21 goals or something from the defense. They need to get a little more aggressive offensively from that standpoint, I think. And then that would be a need that they have. I think their goaltending is fine. I think their forward depth this year, their third and fourth line had a little, Domi came on in the end. If he can continue to do that, then he's a valuable asset. So, I mean, I think if their forwards are good, they're going to have to replace, obviously, Marner if he goes. I mean, Tavares, he's not 100% that he's going to sign, or they're going to re-sign him. So they have a little bit of work to do, but I think the base of the Toronto Maple Leafs is really good. And the way that Craig plays, you can fit different people into that and they'll still be really good.
What do you think of Aaron Ekblad?
I mean, obviously, he's another first overall big, strong defenseman. He's a free agent too. He would look good in the listen. The bigger, the stronger defense you get, the better it is for me. The better it is. Like I know Craig loves to play that way. I mean, he told me this last summer, and I think I told you, Nick, but Adam, we had a good conversation, but I was in a bar. So
That's first some good ones to play.
well, no, it was at a golf course. It was at a golf course. I got to tell you this story. I was at a golf course. I got a hole in one that day, first time ever. Okay. And Craig was in the bar, but as the conversation, I was being very nice after a while. By about the third hour, I'm going to tell you how to beat the Leafs, how the Leafs should play. But he told me, and I remembered, he says, we're not going to score as much maybe this year, but we're going to be better prepared for the playoffs. We're going to play a more defensive game. We're going to play, everybody's going to be coming back. We're not going to be floating up. And I remember him saying that so well, and it was so true to form or true to his word. That's exactly how they played. Now, I think you can just put guys into that. It's not a new team anymore. It's Craig's team, and I think they'll be really good again next year.
Yeah. Do you think they take a step back, or do you think they add the ingredients that can cause them to even take another step forward? If
I think they're
walks.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I really believe that as good a player as Marner is, the Leafs are never going to get outpaid. So I mean, they're gonna find somebody to fit that bill, and the rest of the group is pretty solid. So I'm pretty comfortable with them fighting for the Stanley Cup again next year.
I think they'll be fine. And Gabby, you know this. I would love for you to run the Maple Leafs power play one day. That's all I'm gonna say. 2 for fucking 20. That's it. We're out of time today, Gabby. Great job. Thank you so much for doing this, bud.
Thank you, and great talking to you again, Adam. And hopefully we'll see each other down the road a little bit. So
yes, sir.
I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.
Okay, bud. Bye.
Bye.
That is Bruce Boudreau, one of the very best, man. Just a huge wrestling fan, even bigger Leafs fan. But you talk about people.
You, Nick, put us together.
I did. Dude, I got the producer mind. You've been in the business a long, long time too. The producer brain. I'm like, who would be a good guest for Cope? If it's not Wendell Clark, it's Bruce Boudreau. It's a perfect fit.
Yep. Agreed.
I cornered his ass though in the first question. I'm like, who's your favorite wrestler? It was not going to be Kevin Owens today. I tell you that. It was not going to be Kevin Owens. I tell you that. But yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, man. And I think we all share the passion for this team. Gabby specifically. It's unfortunate. I would love to see him back on like the Leafs bench running that power play. That was a big story for me. 2 for 20. Mark Savard up and down year. And that's been a theme with anybody running the power play. I don't understand for the life of me how you have that much star power and you can't cook at the right time of year, you know?
Well, especially when you see it just firing all cylinders and you know what it can be, you know, that is the thing to me, because even with like Tampa, right? Their power plays, it's ridiculous, but it never goes fully dry like that. You know, they still, every time they feel like a threat. And there were times during the playoffs where the power play didn't feel like a threat. So, there's always going to be things you can improve on, but the power play would definitely be one of those.
The margin for error is razor thin in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You go 2 for 20, 1 for 21 last year in round 1 against the Boston Bruins. You score one more goal, maybe you win that series. Want to get in the action for Stanley Cup playoffs at Bet365? They got you from game props, player props, totals, and the money line. You can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, and Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connexontario.ca. Pretty simple. Looking at the game tonight, Carolina, Florida. I see the Panthers winning this series in 5 games. How about you?
I think so too. And once again, kind of highlighting as the Leaf fan, man, I truly think they could have beat the Canes and gone into the finals and been waiting for the Oilers. And man.
But the one that got away, Cope?
Oh.
I won't lie though. I had nightmares of Arthur Survey during the second round where I'm like, here we go again with Carolina, dude. Imagine Freddie Anderson against the Leafs in round 3 of the
man,
playoffs standing on his head.
Yeah. Right. And that would be the time you do it too.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Leafs seem to have his number. And again, I truly feel like they would have beat the Canes. I really do. Canes are a great team, don't get me wrong, but they also feel a little bit like the makeup of the Leafs, but the Leafs got tougher. And I don't feel like the Canes really did, so they need to add elements too for the playoffs because they keep ending up in this position, but I don't think they'd even make it that far if they weren't in the Metro.
Yeah, you're right. So what did you think of this therapy session today? Was it good, therapeutic, or what?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's good things are going to happen. There's going to be, I think, some major shifting and all of those things, but it'll be exciting to see who they do pick up. And again, I'm just going to throw it out into the ether because Tom Wilson should be a Leaf.
Oh, dude, I just salivated that idea.
It's likely impossible, but man, if there's any possibility to that, get Tom Wilson. Just saying.
Oh, he's so sick, man. He is so good. Man, this
he
has been a
changed
blast.
that Canadian series with a hit.
Oh, who was that he hit?
It happen in real time and went, nope.
Yeah, it's so true, man. I forget, who did he hit? Do you remember who it was in Montreal?
It was,
I forget. Struble, one of those guys, but he just destroyed him. Like, that was so old school, but so awesome at the same time,
And there's going to be conjecture. Was it clean? Was it this? Was it looked clean?
Yeah.
But,
it's body check. It's body check.
Body check. It's going to happen, But yeah, I feel like it's going to be an exciting season. I really do. And I'll be
here. It is.
Oh, man. Ooh, it's the head hitting the ice, really.
Yeah. It's an unbelievable hit. You're right. That changed the course of that series, connecting
right
on that
there.
hit.
You could feel it in the arena change.
Yeah.
Like it took Canadians fans out of the game.
Yeah.
You're doing something if you can take Canadians fans out of the game.
Oh, they were shitting themselves. That's exactly what happened. Nobody's standing. Not even Jack Eye is going to stand up. Jack Eye wasn't even playing. So
no. So your one guy wasn't there. But
yeah.
But yeah, I just pictured Nyes and Wilson on a line together. And
oh my goodness,
what that would be.
William Carrier, that's the defenseman too. Cope, this has been so much fun today, man. Like, the door's always open anytime you want to do this, buddy. Okay.
Sounds good. I'm there.
Awesome stuff. I want to thank Bruce Boudreau for stopping by today. Again, Dave Pagnotta is going to be in for Jay Rosehill on the Thursday edition coming up tomorrow. John Shannon's going to drop by the show, and we're going to get to his thoughts about Sam Bennett. He thinks Sam Bennett's either going to Florida or Toronto. So we'll dive into that at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to producer Vic. For Adam Copeland, I'm Nick Alberga. Talk tomorrow. Take care. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.